This is a demonstration of the interface for Platform on Demand. As you can see, you come in through a web browser through a secure connection. This can be either single or dual authentication. We have it set up for single, so I'll log in here and be able to log into our environment. As you'll see, once we get into the environment here, we have resources that are available. We have processor, we have memory, and we have storage. In this environment, and this is our demo environment, we have 2 gigahertz of processing power, 4 gigs of memory, and 50 gigs of disk space. Down at the bottom here, we have the ability to look at the trend of our processing power, the trend of our memory utilization, and also view the details of the storage that we have allocated to each one of our virtual machines. If we go in and look at the trends that we have in memory, this is a 24-hour look. You can go back in time and see more, but right now this is for this purpose. We're just looking at the last 24 hours. I can click anywhere in here, for instance, right here, and be able to see that the Sun server is using 49 megahertz, or about 2% utilization of our environment. If I go over here and take a look at this peak, oh, I got to go over just a little bit more. If you take a look at this peak, you can see that the POD demo server was actually using 147 megahertz. They were the most utilized server, and about 6%. And you can pick and choose anywhere inside this graph or back in time to see what you have. If we go in here and go into our memory trending, same thing, we get a 24-hour look. You can point in time anywhere in here and see what each one of the servers were using from a memory allocation standpoint. The Sun server was using 378, the Linux server was using 284, and so on. If we take a look at our storage details, these are static numbers. These are not numbers that change very often, only when you add or subtract disk space in the environment. So you can see that our Active Directory has 10 gigs, or 20% of our purchase storage, and down the line here. But you also get to see how many disk drives they have assigned to them. So you can see that one here for the Active Directory server, the Sun server, actually has 2 disk drives assigned to it with a total of 7 gigs of disk space. So real easy interface to use. If we go back here to the summary tab, you can actually see the allocations right here on the bar graph. Down below, you'll see all the transactions that we've done in this farm. So for instance, we created a server, it was completed with the demo account, in other words, who initiated it, and I'll show you the administration of the accounts here, when it was done, when it was completed. So real easy. You can also filter out if you want to look just from certain periods of time, you can go in and do that. The interface that most of the time you're going to be inside of is our device interface, which we tried to make look like a data center. We have rows of racks, then we have racks in those rows. That's what you see here by groups. And then we have servers inside those racks. So for instance, this is our Champion data center, our Champion test row, our web server row, and a US government row. And inside there we put racks, and then we can fill those racks with servers. Real easy to explain, real easy to look at from an interface standpoint. Inside each one of these groups, you can see that I can rename the group, or if I, for instance, wanted to move this rack to a different order and I wanted to move it down one thing and put our demos up here in the front, that's not a problem. I can also pick a server. So for instance, this Aflac server that we have running here, if let's say I wanted to move it out of healthcare, well, let's take DNS because that makes more sense. And let's say I wanted to move it over to my infrastructure rack here. All I would need to do is either go down here to the move button, or I could right click on here and say move, pick a row, which would be the Champion Data Center row, pick a rack that I want to put it in, which let's say is our infrastructure row. I would say move, and it would move the device out of healthcare and into our infrastructure. Real easy to understand, real easy to manipulate. Let's say that I go in here now, I pick my Sun server. I can go down here and see all the information about that server, the IP address, how many processors, we talked about that, how much memory, how much storage is involved, what operating system it's running, whether it's licensed by the service provider, that would be us, or if you were using your own license. If we go to a Windows server, let's say this Active Directory server, you can see that the licensing down here was from the customer. If it was from us, there could be a billing charge. And I'll show you that from creating a server. So let's say I'm down here in my test servers, down here with my Linux mail, and now I want to create a new server. I can either right click on that rack and it will populate a few of the rows, or I can go up here and say create a server or create a blank server. Let's create a blank server since it's real easy. And you'll notice that because I'm clicked on that rack and that row, that it automatically placed those credentials inside the group here. So I can go in and pick an OS, and let's just pick Linux, which is real easy. You can see all the different flavors of Linux here. So for instance, if I wanted to use Red Hat 5 32-bit version, I give it a name here, and let's just call this file server. I can go in here and say 1, 2, or 4 processors, just like VMware, and you'll notice that the back end of our cloud is VMware. So anything that you can run in a VMware environment, any x86 or Intel or AMD processor, you'll be able to load inside this environment. You can put as much memory as you have purchased. We actually have 4 gigs of memory that we could actually put in here. I'm probably not going to put that much, but let's say 512 I want to put in here. I can put disk space that I have available. So for instance, if I put 10 gigs in here, I'm going to get an error when I'm done filling out this form, and I'll show you how that works, and then we'll correct it. Under networking, oh, look at that. Problem found, I only have 3 gigs available. So I need to go down here in this environment to less than my allocated space. So I'm going to say 2 gigs. Now I pick my network. I can either be outside the DMZ, so in other words, a public address that anyone can get to, or I can be inside my internal environment. Let's just put it in my internal environment. It's automatically, like I said, filled out these rows to put it under my test servers. I could go in here and change this, put it in any row that I want, or any rack that I want in that row. So we'll just keep it where it is. Once I click on agreement, you'll see that the deploy button becomes available, and I can now deploy this server. So what it's going to do is create that server in our environment here and give us the ability to now manage this server. So it's going to take just a few minutes here to actually turn this thing up, but let's go to a different one. Let's go back to my Sun server here just because it's up and running. So since it has an IP address, I can do things like rename it, manage its IPs that it has. I can move it, like I said, from rack to rack. I can shut this server down from these controls. I can also connect through the console with this contact button. Now you do have to be connected to a VPN. I'm not connected right now, so we'll probably get an error in a couple of minutes. But inside here you can see the different things. So for instance, your CD-ROM or your DVD, you can do a couple different things. You can actually mount your local DVD that's inside your local PC, or you can actually select an ISO image and actually connect to that and then run any installations that you want. You saw the Control-Alt-Delete that was sitting down here, and you can also refresh the console. So let's get rid of this and go back here into our interface. So as you can see now, the file server is actually tuned up, ready to go. We could actually power this one up. Down here we could say power on. We could configure an IP address for it. So if I wanted to go in here, I know that it's in the internal networking. I know that it has disk space here. So if I wanted to add disk or change disk, I could actually do that. To go in and manage its IP addresses, I could actually go in here, and these are all the available IPs in that subnet that I have. I could go in and pick one, say add to this, say save, and it'll actually, once I spin this up, put the OS on here, it'll actually have an IP address down here, which it doesn't have. But you can see that here's the processors, the memory, the storage, the OS, and everything else that's in here. So if we go into the networking portion of this, inside the networking, here's the public IP addresses, the ones that we talked about before that are, outside the DMZ. Here's the servers that are right now sitting in our DMZ. Here's the one in our internal network. Real easy to work with. If I pick on my Sun server, same information you saw out there, the Sun server, what network it's in, what operating system, the state that it's in, whether it's powered on or powered off, and what IP addresses are actually assigned to this server. If I go into any of our other servers, you can see that right now I have not assigned an IP address to this. It is powered on. Dave happens to be powered off. So real easy interface to work with. I can actually activate my public IPs. I can check my IP usage in here, so I could go in and see what's actually being used out of my network. Remember that we just put this file server down here on 39. It hasn't been activated yet, but we can do those as we go along. Just a way for you guys to keep track. I can also create a service in here. So if I want to select an IP address from our public IP address range here, I could pick this one. I could actually select the protocol that I want to allow to go through that public IP address, so port 21. I could actually type FTP in here. I think I've already done this once before, so we might get an error on this, and we didn't, so thank God. So now we are allowing outbound traffic from this server if we wanted to make it an FTP server. If you want to get into firewall rules, you would need to go into this page of the interface. Real easy to do. You can see the different firewall rules. I can go in here and check one, and down here at the bottom I can delete a rule. I can actually, here, let's just delete this one just to show you how to do it. So yep, we want to delete that rule out of here, and I want to create a new firewall rule. Let's say I want to allow outside traffic. I want to allow it by network. So let's pick the DMZ. So, and we want to allow it to communicate with our internal network. Let's pick this one. And I want to allow a TCP port, and I want to allow a just a regular port. And let's say I want to pick a random port. Let's say 16, or let's say 1494 for Citrix. And then I can say save. So in this environment here, you could see that I am now deleting a rule and I'm changing a rule or adding a rule to this environment. If we go out of this, and we can go back in because that's going to take a couple of minutes for us to create those things. Just want to show you everything that's in here. From an administration standpoint, you can see that I can go in here, and right now these are the user credentials that I'm using. Here's the default views. So for instance, right now I automatically come up to resources. If for some reason I wanted to come right into the device menu. In other words, the racks and rows and servers that we talked about, I could do that. From a network view, if I wanted to see the security first, or if I wanted to see underneath devices, icons or lists, I'll show you lists in a minute here, but I could go in and change those each time I come in here. To create users, you go into the user folder. You can see that I'm showing active users right now. If I uncheck this box, you'll see that I have an inactive user that I haven't deleted yet, or I can activate. I can actually edit it. You'll have to call us if you want to delete any accounts permanently, but you can hide them right there. If I want to add a user, it's very easy. I can add a new user here. If I already have one here that was active in another environment, I could actually pick it, but you type first name, last name, email address. You can either make it an administrator or another user. So once we go in here, you'll see that you can give it no access, read only, or standard user access. User access means that they can actually work in the virtual machines. They just can't create them or change them. Read only means they can see the environment, but they can't make any type of access to the servers. It's basically for, let's say, a help desk or something like that. So we'll cancel out of here. Let's go back to our settings accounts here. In fact, let's go back to our environments. I talked to you about being able to see our devices in a picture row here, but I can also display these in a list if that's easier for you guys to do. It still keeps the rows. It tells you what the name of the server is, who's licensing it. It just really doesn't give you the it gives you the rack by name up here instead of a picture. So just a little bit different interface. Some people like one, some people like the other. No matter where you are in our environment, you can always check on the help button here, and inside our help database you'll be able to see anything you can do in here, like frequently asked questions. If you're looking for server environments, how do I copy a server, it will actually give you all of this information, step-by-step process. If you want to go in here into registration, and this is the email that you get once you sign up that tells you you're invited, how to log in. You can also go in and let's say you want login information, you can remember this is the screen that we use to log in. It will actually tell you how to do it. The VPN connection that I talked about before, how to set that up, is all built in here. All you have to do is follow the directions that you have. Real simple, real easy interface to work with. I'm sure that once you get involved in it, it'll be simple for your people to use. If you have any questions, you can always contact Champion at 1-800-771-7000. My name is Kevin Vogel, and my extension is 193. Thanks, and have a great day.